On the 1st of December 1948, at 6:30 in the morning, the fully clothed body of a middle-aged man was located on Somerton Beach in the city of Adelaide, South Australia. No one knows how the man got there, and he was not the victim of a drowning. The man was found lying against the seawall with his legs crossed. Estimated to be 5'11" tall, well-built and clean-shaven. He was wearing clothing common for the time, a suit coat, trousers and a tie. But he had no hat, which was unusual, and he was overdressed for the summer weather, wearing a knitted pullover. The deceased had no obvious signs of injury, and a cursory search of his body revealed no identifying information, no laundry tags on his clothing, and no wallet. Initial police inquiries revealed that around 7 the previous evening, the man had been seen on the beach by members of the public who had been walking along the esplanade. They had assumed that he was possibly drunk, one witness saying that the man briefly raised his right arm and let it drop to his side. Little did anyone know that it would be the man's final sunset. The body was conveyed to Royal Adelaide Hospital, where life extinct was confirmed by Dr. John Barclay Bennett, who estimated that the man's time of death was approximately 2 a.m. The doctor noted that there was no obvious cause of death. Conveyed to the city mortuary, a more thorough examination was conducted on the body, clothing and belongings. Apart from chewing gum, cigarettes and a comb, an unused train ticket to Henley Beach and a bus ticket offered investigators slim leads. The man remained unidentified. The following day, as news of the incident at Somerton hit the local papers, a post-mortem was conducted on the man's body by Dr. J.M. Dwyer. The man appeared to have been in top physical condition, but his organs indicated that his death may have been caused by irritant poison in the stomach. The type of poison could not be determined. Following the post-mortem, the body was fingerprinted, then redressed in the clothing he was found in, and photographed. As the body lay in the morgue over Christmas 1948 and into the new year, police were increasingly finding that this would not be the usual investigation of a deceased, with routine missing persons inquiries around South Australia resulting in dead ends. In January 1949, the photographs and fingerprints were distributed to interstate police forces and the United States Federal Bureau of Investigation, all without success. On the 14th of January 1949, an unclaimed suitcase believed to belong to the Somerton man was located at the cloakroom of the Adelaide railway station. The suitcase had been checked into the cloakroom between 11 a.m. and 12 noon on the 30th of November, the day before the body was found. Apart from the usual items expected for a man going travelling, of interest was clothing with laundry tags for a T. Keen, which became another dead lead, items associated with maritime stenciling, and tailored clothing items and a repair thread indicating a link with the United States of America. The contents of the briefcase and the clothing located on the body were given to Emeritus Professor John Burton Cleland for examination. Missed by police, but located by Professor Cleland in a fob pocket on the waistband of the man's trousers, was a small, torn piece of paper with the printed words, Tamum Shud. Enquiries revealed that Tamum Shud were the closing words of the 12th century Persian poem, the Rubaiyat, written by Omar Khayyam. The phrase's meaning was ended or finished. With the body undergoing further decay, on the 7th of June 1949, a plaster cast was made of the unknown man's head and shoulders in the hope that the bust could be used for identification purposes in the future. The hotelier and patrons of the Elephant and Castle Hotel on West Terrace passed the hat around to fund a burial for the Somerton man across the road from the pub at the West Terrace Cemetery. The funeral was conducted on the 14th of June 1949. Salvation Army Captain E.J. Webb saying to mourners, "Yes, this man has someone to love him, known only to God." The 22nd of July 1949 saw a huge break in the Somerton Man case. A resident of Jetty Road, Glenelg, a suburb away from where the body was located, handed a copy of the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam into South Australian Police. Ripped out was the two-word ending of the poem, the whole matching the torn piece. Around the time the Somerton man's body was located, the book had been thrown into the open window of a Hillman Minx motor vehicle parked on Jetty Road and was placed in the glove compartment as an afterthought. In the book was written 4 lines of seemingly random letters, thought at the time to be a code or cipher. Also scrawled on the Rubaiyat were 2 Adelaide phone numbers, one for a bank, the other a private number. Police inquiries revealed that the number belonged to a woman called Jo Thompson, also known as Jo. Thompson lived in Mosley Street, Glenelg, only blocks away from where the Somerton man's body was located. 28-year-old Jo Thompson was born Jessica Harkness in Sydney in 1921 and had worked in that city as a nurse during the Second World War. After briefly living in Melbourne, she moved to Adelaide and took the name of her domestic partner, Prosper Thompson, despite not being married to him at the time. 2 years prior, Jo Thompson had given birth to a son, Robin. After tracing the telephone number, detectives attended the Mosley Street address of Thompson. She denied having any knowledge of the Somerton Man case, but she recalled that at the time, her neighbours reported that a man had turned up at her house while she was out and had inquired with them about her. When asked why her number would be written in the copy of the Rubaiyat, she said she could not explain why it would be there. She confided to police that she was aware of the Rubaiyat as a work of literature and had given a copy to an Australian Army intelligence officer called Alf Boxall in Sydney during the war. She said that she had met Boxall at a regular hangout for Allied officers, the Clifton Gardens Hotel in the harbourside suburb of Mossman. Police felt they finally had their man, until Boxall was located in Sydney, alive and well. He still had his copy of the Rubaiyat, which Jo Thompson signed Jestyn. On the 26th of July 1949, police took Jo Thompson to the South Australian Museum, where the plaster bust of the Somerton Man was stored. When it was revealed to her
Museum technician Paul Lawson said she was completely taken aback, to the point of giving the appearance that she was about to faint. Despite her reaction, Jo Thompson insisted that she did not know the identity of the man. While police believed Jo Thompson knew more about the Somerton Man than she was letting on, when she requested that her name and details be permanently removed from the case file to protect her privacy and reputation, investigators agreed. In the ensuing years, it was noted by many that Jo's son Robin shared physical characteristics with the Somerton Man, including a peculiar ear shape and teeth arrangement. Jo and Prosper Thompson's daughter Kate said that her mother revealed to her that she did indeed know the Somerton Man, but would not offer any further details apart from noting that knowledge of the case went to a level higher than the authority of the police. Kate Thompson said that her mother had a dark side and would occasionally break out into fluent Russian. She was convinced that her mother was involved in espionage. As the decades passed, Jo Thompson maintained her silence until she died in 2007. Her son Robin died in 2009. A campaign to have the body of the Somerton Man exhumed for DNA analysis was approved by the South Australian Government, and exhumation took place in 2021. Successful DNA extraction could confirm which region of the world Somerton Man originated from, whether he has living extended relatives, and whether Robin Thompson's daughter, Rachel Egan, is the Somerton Man's granddaughter. As a former police officer, the Somerton Man or Tamum Shud case has long interested me. Based on the evidence, I will present a hypothesis of what took place leading up to the man's location on Somerton Beach on the 1st of December 1948. Based on the evidence, I believe Jo Thompson was a Soviet intelligence asset. As it became evident that the Axis powers would lose the Second World War, despite being allies, tension existed between the Western Allies and the Soviet Union over who was going to dominate the post-war world. Operating under the cover of working as a nurse, I believe Jo Thompson had been recruited by the Soviets as a honey trap agent, tasked to seek out or be allocated targets, form intimate relationships with them, compromise them, and elicit intelligence from them. I believe that the Somerton Man was an American, a US naval intelligence officer stationed in Sydney during the Second World War, who was approached by Jo Thompson at the Clifton Gardens Hotel. Like Alf Boxall, she began a friendship with the Somerton Man, giving him a copy of the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam in what was to appear a token of friendship, but what she would later use as a book cipher, a form of encrypted communication between two parties using the same book with a pre-arranged algorithm. Despite the war ending in 1945, overseas military personnel were still in Australia well into 1946. And it is at this point that I believe Robin Thompson may have been conceived as a result of the liaison between Jo Thompson and the Somerton Man, before he was repatriated back to the United States and was discharged. Later police efforts to identify the man with American authorities would be for naught, as his identity was classified. I believe the Somerton man was acting alone and not as an intelligence operative when he came back to Australia in an attempt to reunite with Jo Thompson, possibly as a merchant seaman, as evidenced by his stenciling tools. He removed all identification from his person and belongings, knowing his personal mission had potential risks. Possibly arriving in the port of Melbourne, he took the overnight train, arriving at the Adelaide railway station on the morning of the 30th of November 1948. After freshening up with a shower at the nearby city baths, he returned to the station and checked his luggage into the cloakroom. Unfamiliar with the city of Adelaide, he initially bought a train ticket to Henley Beach, but realising his error, purchased a bus ticket for Glenelg. Arriving in Glenelg, he walked to Jo Thompson's Mosley Street address, where she either wasn't home or didn't answer the door. He had a conversation with the neighbours, who informed him that she was now a married woman with a child. At this, he walked back into Glenelg. At the time, South Australia was of interest to the Soviets, as the arid regions north of Adelaide were being used for uranium mining and rocket testing. Still a Soviet intelligence asset, Jo Thompson's seemingly ordinary life as a suburban housewife was a perfect cover. Alerted to the Somerton man's presence in Glenelg, I believe Jo Thompson informed her Soviet handlers of his inquiries, which had the potential to compromise her cover. She would later tell police of her dealings with Alf Boxall, as she had not gone far in the infiltration process with him, and it would not lead back to her espionage activities. While in the central business district of Glenelg, I believe the Somerton man became aware that he was being tailed by agents. Knowing his copy of the Rubaiyat had evidence linking him to Jo Thompson, and not knowing whether it was Australians or Soviets tailing him, he ripped out the Tamum Shud section as a keepsake, well aware of its meaning, and threw the book through the open window of the Hillman Minx in Jetty Road. As for the famous coded message, I believe its meaning died with the Somerton man and will probably never be deciphered. Soon after, I believe he was snatched off the street, resulting in him losing his hat. He was interrogated by Soviet operatives and administered a lethal dose of a poison which agents knew would be undetectable. In the early evening of the 30th of November 1948, I believe the man was dumped in the vicinity of Somerton Beach. Aware that he was going to die, the Somerton man made his way down to the beach to have a final smoke and watch the sunset, to reflect on his life and imagine what might have been, as his life slowly faded away. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.